Hey, this is Mike from the One Stop Co-op Shop, and today we are looking at Scythe from Stonemaier Games. Scythe is one of my favorite solo games of all time, so I was actually kind of shocked when I realized that we've never covered it on the channel, me or Colin. I wanted to fix that and show how the solo Automa plays. I have the core game and the Rise of Fenris expansion, and I put it out to our Patreon members for a vote of what kind of game they wanted to see, and they voted to see the first scenario of the campaign. So they didn't want to see kind of a one-off, they wanted to see how the campaign kind of gets started. So you will be seeing elements from the campaign, but no real spoilers here because you're going to see just how things begin. And no disclaimer needed this time, both the core game and the expansion I bought myself. Alright, the game's already set up, but I'll kind of show you the key details that have gone into this. So I have my randomly chosen player mat set up. In this case, I drew the agricultural mat. And it tells me how many objective cards. This is pretty much always 2. I'm going to start with 4 popularity and 7 money. And for the tokens, it's always the same. You put your 4 recruits down here, your 4 buildings over here, and then all your upgrade cubes in the empty spaces. And finally, you put all your extra workers in this row here. So this is pretty standard. I also picked my faction. In this case, I have Poland, and I have Anna and Wojciech, my awesome Polish bear. I've placed my 4 mechs over these little upgrade spaces here. And then I have, as already noted, the 7 starting cash that I'll be able to spend. My faction also shows my starting combat statistics. Here I've got 2 power and 3 combat cards. Now the Automa setup is a lot simpler. They just have a faction board. They start with 5 money. In this case, they have 3 combat power and 2 combat cards. And they've also got their 4 mechs. Now in terms of starting board position, you'll see that my base is over here and they're over there, so we're kind of directly opposing each other. We start with our character miniature on our home base, so not technically on a hex yet, and then 2 starting workers on each adjacent space, same for the Automa. You'll also see I've seeded the board with encounter tokens and all the indicated hexes. And a few final notes, the Triumph track up here is one of the main ways you score victory points in the game by putting your stars up here. For the first scenario of the Fenris campaign, you put an influence token on each of these, and we'll kind of be racing to get them first. Additionally, just for this first Fenris scenario, you have an objective card that you can both try to get for an additional star. In this case, it's Technological Breakthrough. If I have 1 factory card and 0 upgrades during a turn, then I can put a star here, and it also has an influence token we can gain. Over here you have our starting popularity. I start on 4 as indicated. The Automa stays on 10 and never moves. We've also started with a random building bonus tile. In this case, for each building, except for 3rd and 4th, that we have on a tunnel hex, which we'll get into when we get into playing, you get us some free coins at the end of the game. I also start with 2 objectives, although I can only obtain 1 of them. So I've got stockpile for the winner, control a territory with 9 or more resource tokens, at least 1 of each type on it at the end of your turn. Or King of the Hill, control the factory at the end of your turn and have the highest power of any player. Ties are okay. So interesting, we've got 2 objectives, both the shared one and mine, that require going to the factory, so maybe I can rush over there and try to have some combat when I do. And then a final note, you pick an Automa difficulty level. In this case, I'm playing on hard, so one of their cubes goes on this Roman numeral 1 space. For the first 3 star spaces, they won't be able to cross over the river. They'll be kind of limited to their starting base, but then eventually they'll move on. Their cards will kind of level up when they get to this number 2 Roman numeral here, and then they'll gain free stars there and as they go further along. And I have shuffled the Automa deck. I've shuffled all the relevant decks. We'll get into how all that stuff works when we get to the first Automa turn. So with setup out of the way, let's go over some quick basics of how the game plays. So in a solo game, the player always takes the first turn, and on your turn you take your pawn and put it on one of the 4 action spaces on your mat. In all subsequent turns, you cannot keep your pawn on the same space, so you have to move it to one of the other ones, but you can go as many spaces as you want. And each of the spaces has a top action and a bottom action, and you can, if you want to, do the top action, and then you can, if you can afford to and want to, do the bottom action, so you have to go in that order. So go through them briefly. The top action here lets you move 2 of your units or gain some money. Here you can pay 1 money to trade for some resources or some popularity. Here you can produce on 2 hexes with all the workers there. And here you can pay 1 money to bolster your combat power or draw a combat card. And these will be in different orders depending on what player mat you have and in different combinations with the bottom actions, which will have different effects. It's one of the main variants in the game. As for the bottom action, here, if you spend some oil, you can upgrade. That means you take 1 of these cubes and make one of your top actions stronger. And you get to put the cube on one of these recessed spots on a bottom action to make that action cheaper. So you're both strengthening a top action and making a bottom action more efficient. For this one, if you pay some metal, you can deploy one of your 4 mechs and also unlock the ability that's underneath that mech. With some wood, you can build a building on one of the spaces with workers. And I didn't mention, but a lot of these will give you some free money as well when you do them. And then finally, for some food, you can get a recruit. That'll go on your other board for a free bonus once per game. And then also every time you take the indicated bottom action, and also sometimes from the automa, you'll gain some benefits like free combat cards, free power, that kind of thing. Now to go into a bit more detail, for movement until I get upgrades, each unit can only move once, and again, each move action lets me move 2 things. My character has to come into one of these hexes and then can't go back to the home base unless he's defeated. And for now, I'm stuck on my tiny little peninsula until I can get a tunnel, because all the tunnel spaces are adjacent, or until I can unlock a riverwalk ability or a lake movement ability. I'm kind of stuck here, and so is the AI. As for the production action, right now I would pick 2 hexes, and what you do is you see how many workers are there, and that's how much they produce, and they produce whatever the indicated resource here is. And they produce whatever the indicated resource is for their hex. So here, if I have some workers here in the village, I'll produce some more workers. I'll leave it to your imagination how that happens. Over here in these fields, I can produce some food, and in this forest, I can produce some wood. So those are the 3 main resources I have access to with my little introductory peninsula here. Now, a few other gameplay considerations. Whenever my character makes it to one of these encounter spaces, I have to stop my movement, and then I get to draw an encounter card and make some choices on it. And that's actually my faction's main ability. There's 3 choices on these, and usually you only take 1 of them. But with my faction, you get to pick 2 of the choices and resolve them both. Another thing to note is this factory in the middle. It counts as 3 territories instead of 1. That can earn you victory points at the end of the game. But also, whenever our character first gets there, we get to take 1 of these 3 factory cards that have been dealt at the beginning of the game. The number of players plus 1. So with 2 players, 3 factory cards. And if any of our combat units ever coexist, we have a battle, and one of us will be forced to run back to our home base. And if workers are ever alone with a combat unit, they get chased back to home base as well, and you get to steal their resources. And I'll end by talking about victory points, because you're trying to have the most wealth, the most coins at the end of the game. So you get whatever coins you've actually earned, and then you get coins for every star you've placed, which again comes from the triumph track at the top, how many hexes you control with your units or your buildings on them, and how many pairs of resources you have in your territories. And all of these are multiplied depending on where your popularity marker is. So right now I'm getting the lowest multiplier, but I'll get more points for each up here and even more points up here. And just to briefly talk through the Triumph track, I already said we have an extra objective card just for this scenario. And then all the rest is basically like doing all of something. So here, if I get all of my upgrade cubes, I get that star, all 4 of my mechs, all 4 of my buildings, all 4 of my recruits, all 8 of my workers out, 1 of my 2 objective cards. Winning a fight, you can get a star for doing that twice in the game. Being at the top of the popularity track, and being at the top of the power track. And the only major thing that's left to see is resolving the automaton, but I think that'll be easier to explain as we play. So let's get right into the game. Alright, so first thing I want to heavily consider is how I'm going to get out of my peninsula, because I can't really expand much without that. And right now I cannot get any metal or any oil without getting out of here, which is what's going to get me upgrades and mechs. And especially since upgrades are so cheap for me on this player mat, it'd be kind of silly not to use them. So there are 3 main ways I'm going to get off my peninsula. Number 1, if I can get enough wood, in this case my mat needs 4, I can build my building the mine. That'll become a tunnel that only I can use, and any of my units can move from this tunnel hex to any other tunnel hex, and that would get me onto the mainland. And option 2 and 3 both involve getting a mech. I have the Riverwalk ability if I get this mech, which will let me move across the river into a space with a village or a mountainous mine. Right now I'd only have a mine, so that's the only way I can get out. Or I can get Submerged, that lets me move into lakes or from lake to lake. And by the way, whenever I get one of these upgrades, they apply to any of my mechs I have, plus my character. But the mechs can carry villagers with them, can carry workers. So if I had like Submerged, I could take a bunch of my workers into the lake and then move somewhere else. Now, to get a mech, I would need 4 metal, and the only way I can get metal right now is with the trade action. For 1 money, I can get 2 resources of any type. Or if I wanted to build the mine and get out of here that way, I would need 4 wood, which I could also get through trading, or through producing on my farm, because I do have one over there. And one main reason to get off my peninsula quickly, I only have 1 encounter token here, and remember my faction's whole bonus is that I do better with those, so I want to get my character kind of exploring around quickly. And also, if I can get to the factory first, I have a chance to get 1 or 2 objective stars and the influence tokens from them, so that would certainly be great. So this time I think the mechs can be the way to go, so I'm going to go ahead and do the trade action. I'll spend 1 money, which is 1 victory point, so not the greatest thing to do that a lot. I'm going to get 2 metal, and it says it has to go where workers are, so I can put this on any hex that has one of my workers in it. And I chose the resource option, so I can't get the popularity. I don't have my armory built yet, so I can't gain the bonus from that. And I certainly don't have 4 metal to build a mech, so I can't do the bottom action, so that's my entire turn. And for now, what the hell, I'll just put 1 metal with each of my workers. So as you can see, player turns are incredibly fast. Let's see how fast the automaton can be. So for the automaton, I flip over the top automa card, and it'll tell me everything I need to know. So first, the automa will try to move in some way. Now, sometimes you'll have actions that are specific to a certain faction. In this case, the automa is playing the Russians, the red faction, so this doesn't apply. And then you look for the first one that does apply. So here, it means their character is going to try to reach the factory or an encounter token and remove it. If they can't do that, their character will at least make a non-combat move. Now, they've got all these little automa cards that kind of walk you through all the priorities, but they kind of become second nature once you play the game a lot, so I'm just going to mostly skip through them. But I'll work through this first one to kind of show you how it works. So first you have to select who's doing the action. In this case, I only have 1 character for the automa, so it's going to be them. You next determine valid hexes they can move to. So it says in the neighborhood of any automa unit. Neighborhood in this one means a space they can move into. And it also means the space they're in. So right now, the only neighborhoods I have are here because there's a worker there, here because there's a worker there, and here because they can both move there. Since they can't move off the peninsula yet, that means that those are the only 3 possible spaces. Next, I'll see it also has to be a space that is the factory or a hex with an encounter token. So here it's simple. We only have 1 valid hex because there is only 1 of the 3 hexes that has an encounter token. Okay, then we pick up the character, we choose the destination hex, we pick any valid hex that has no enemy unit and no automa mech already there, and then we have a tiebreaker in case we need it. It's closest to factory is pretty self-explanatory. Reading order means from top left to bottom right, just going in that order. But again, no tiebreaker needed. Here it's pretty simple. And it says you place the character there, pick up the encounter token. If it's there, that just means that I can't get it. And then if they're on the factory, they take a factory card away. So in this case, the automa has gotten the encounter token, but they don't actually have an encounter. They just remove it. After resolving the movement row, you next give the automa the stuff indicated. In this case, they just get 1 money. And then if we had recruits, we might get a bonus here, but we don't. And they move their star token 1 space, which gets them closer to being able to escape their peninsula. So here's their 1 money. The automa never spends money for anything. It's just straight up victory points for them. And the star marker moves 1. After 2 more of those, they won't have the water symbol anymore, so they'll be able to move past their peninsula. And that's it. Automa turns might seem kind of complicated at first, but they move pretty quickly once you get used to them. Alright, so now back to us. We would love to trade again and get 2 more metal. That would let us purchase our first mech and get off our little island. But because our pawn is already on that action space, we cannot choose it. We must move it to one of the other 3. In this case, the choice is not easy. Movement makes a lot of sense because I have to get my character out of there so that he can actually use the mech movement to get off of the peninsula. Production, I probably won't want to use. I'm not really on the spaces I want to be on yet. But bolster isn't a bad idea because remember, one of my objectives is to be on the factory and have the highest power. And that would put me above the automa. I've got 2 currently and they've got 3, so +2 would put me on top. But yeah, I think the movement makes too much sense. I need to bring my character into play so I can get those encounter tokens and start benefiting from them. So I get 2 movement. I'm certainly going to bring my character out, 1 closer to the encounter token. And then I can move 1 of my workers. Now, on my faction mat, I need 3 food to recruit someone, but 4 wood to build a structure. And it seems like that's less useful. So I'm going to move the worker here where I can create more workers and get stuff faster. And you can't always bring resources with them because if I just left this behind, I wouldn't control the hex anymore. It wouldn't actually be my metal. And once again, I don't have the 2 oil I need to do the bottom action. I cannot get one of these upgrade cubes moved. So I'm done my turn again, very quick. So let's see our next automa card. Okay, so once again, we're starting with a character trying to get to the factory or an encounter token. But in this case, there are no encounter tokens that he can reach because he's trapped in the peninsula and he's already gotten the only one. So we skip that to a non-combat move for the character since he can't do anything with that one. Now, most of his stuff is all the same. In general, they can never do anything that isn't in the neighborhood of an existing unit, so you kind of have to be careful of being within 1 hex of them. But here, his big thing is he wants to be the shortest distance from enemy combat units and also closer to the factory. So he's actually going to stay in the exact same space he's already in. Okay, and then for stuff, he gains 1 of his mechs. Now, they don't unlock abilities, but they do just have more combat units now. It starts on the home base, but later on, it might get a mech action to move it out. And then, unfortunately, they get a star again, so only 1 more, and they'll be off the peninsula. All right, my turn's pretty simple this time. I want to get my 2 more metal and get a mech so I can start moving out of here. So I'll move my pawn over here. I'll spend 1 money. I'll choose to trade for 2 metal again. In this case, lucky me, I do now have 4 metal, because you can spend it from anywhere. It doesn't have to be units like near each other or anything. So I'm going to deploy a mech, and unfortunately, no money reward for this. This is the action that my agricultural faction likes the least. And I get to pick which of my mechs I want to remove. The Riverwalk one let me go straight to 2 new spaces. The Submerge one is kind of nice because I can go from lake to lake and really surprise people. But I don't think it's as good a one to start with because it'll take me extra movement just to get into the lake. So I'm going to take my one off of Riverwalk. And I can deploy the mech in any space with a worker. So let's get him closer to the action. There we go. Actually, you know what? Maybe I'm going to change my mind. I kind of want to bring this worker with the mech over to here so I can produce some more workers and kind of get an engine going. So I'm going to start him here with the intention of moving next turn. All right, back to my Automa friends. Let's hope they don't get a star this turn, but they did. Okay, so this is a worker move. For this one, I pick the worker that's closest to home base. And this is how most of the moves work. You want to pick the guy who's like kind of furthest back and move them out. And for tiebreaker, it's always reading order. So I'm going to take this guy up. And they're a little bit different. They want to be in the neighborhood of as many units as possible, not counting units on the home base. So, but here in this case, it's all tied up because on any of these, he'd be in the neighborhood of the other 2 guys. Here, because remember, they count the space on them. That'd be 1, 2. Here'd be 1, 2. Here'd be 1, 2. But the tiebreaker is he wants to be closest to the factory, so he's actually going to be with the leader here. And then they gain 3 combat power, not looking great for my objective card where I need to have the most. That brings them up to 6. And they got a star, so they are no longer stuck on their peninsula. Just like me, they're ready to move out. And speaking of moving out, let's go ahead and take our move action. So for one move, the mech is going to carry this worker over here. And for the other one, my character is going to come over here and get that encounter token. So it's one big happy family here. And the encounter token's removed after all movement and combat is done. And I get to draw a card and see what my results are. All right, so you can see the theme kind of matches the art here. So here it says, I can pay my respects as I pass through the Nordic camp to gain 2 oil and 1 popularity. And 2 oil for me is a straight up upgrade, so that's pretty great. I can sit down and entertain the troop with a greatly embellished story, pay 2 money to gain an upgrade, so that's potentially 2 upgrades from this card. Or I can ambush the soldiers at midnight, pay 2 popularity to gain 4 oil. Well, I don't love giving up a lot of money, but remember I get to pick 2 options. I think I'm going to pick the nice ones here. So I'm going to gain 2 oil, 1 popularity, pay 2 money, and gain 1 upgrade straight up. So the oil goes right on the space with my character, but we can have anybody move around with that. Popularity takes me to 5, so I'm almost to the next multiplier at space 7. And then I pay 2 money, but I get an upgrade. So let's see, I could produce on 3 hexes, but right now I'm bunched up, so that doesn't make much sense. I could gain 3 power every time I bolster. That might be worthwhile, or 2 combat cards. Could gain 2 popularity when I trade, but that's kind of a more late game option. Or I could move 3 units instead of 2. I think that's my favorite option right now. Okay, this cube can make anything cheaper that has one of these special spaces, so could make my mechs only cost 3. I could potentially get recruits for only 1 food. That seems really good. Yeah, let's do that, because I have a food space right next to me. I'll be able to recruit over and over and over again pretty quickly. And oh, speaking of that, lucky me, look, I have 2 oil now, so with the bottom action, since I finished moving on the top, I can spend the 2 oil I just got from that encounter to immediately do an upgrade and gain 1 money. Awesome. So the money brings me back up to 4. I do have to spend the 2 oil, of course. And here, yeah, I think I'm going to be able to get combat more quickly, so I'm going to take the cube from Bolster. And let's go ahead and make this ridiculously cheap so I can gain a bunch of combat, and once I get some food, get some recruits, and get free stuff frequently pretty quickly. All right, that was a solid turn there. Let's see what the Automa is going to answer with. Okay, so they would have done a combat move if they were this faction, but they're not, so they're just doing a regular worker move. So remember, it's the worker furthest back to the home base. That'll be this one, and he wants to be in a hex that is in the neighborhood of the most people possible, but doesn't already contain a worker. So in this case, that is any of these 6 hexes now, because they aren't impeded by the river. Remember, their tiebreaker is the factory, so he's going to go right here, which sucks for us because now this guy can run to the factory pretty quickly. By the way, an important note is that workers will not be placed in a hex that is in the neighborhood of one of my units. So for example, if my mech was there and threatening to just move in and send this guy back to home, he would not be placed there. He'd be placed somewhere like over here to be safe, or over here on the lake. All right, they also get a new worker and a money. And the worker goes straight on the home base, which means he'll be the first one to move out next time they get that. 7th money. And here's what a recruit bonus looks like. So if I had spent the food, remember it only cost me 1 now, and had uncovered the space that gives me a popularity, then when this showed up, I would gain that popularity. But they are getting a star and getting closer to their cards, upgrading and starting to get free stars themselves. So here we go, advancing along quickly. I want to produce some more workers here so I can send some back to get me food and get a ton of recruits. And some can move with my mech now over the river into here to get me some more metal for more mechs. I can get some oil to get more upgrades. Lots of fun stuff coming. So I'll move my pawn to the produce space. There is sometimes a cost to this based on how many workers you've uncovered, but I haven't uncovered any yet, so I just get to pick 2 hexes to produce. I only have 1, and it's in a village that produces workers, so I'm going to get 2 more, 1 for each worker there. But you will see now that each time I do produce from now on, I'll have to spend 1 power to do it, so not so great. But hey, I've got a ton of workers here now, ready to produce some good stuff for me. And I certainly do not have 4 wood to build a structure, so that's the end of my turn. All right, for the Automa, darn, star after star. Okay, so there's a non-attacking move for a mech. We've only got 1 mech, and like the character, they want to get as close as possible to fighting me, and they want to get as close as possible to the factory, so they are currently controlling the factory, though they don't get a factory card yet, because that's not their leader, it's just the mech. And they get 4 more free power. Are you kidding me? That brings them up to 10. I'm only at 2. And another star, of course. So they're certainly looking a lot more aggressive than I am. All right, I'm certainly going to move next, so I'll send my character over here to get some more encounter tokens. Send my mech over here, I think transporting, sure, 2 more guys. And then for my final move, could actually run one of my workers up here because they don't count as having moved since the mech carried them. That would give me some oil potentially. But I like the idea of getting those recruits very quickly. So let's send 1 guy back here, and with 1 production, that's already a full recruit. You know, it's kind of looking silly to leave a worker back here. So maybe I'll bring this guy with the mech too, because I can only pick 2 spaces to produce on right now. So might as well get a ton of metal and get another mech pretty quickly. And I don't have the oil to upgrade, so onto the AI. Things could be getting aggressive here pretty soon. Let's see. Okay, only a worker move, but then even more power. So we're picking the worker all the way back here. We want a hex with no worker that is in the neighborhood of as many units as possible, and not in the neighborhood of my units. So now they could move through the tunnel to any other tunnels. That means the worker will not go here or here, because I can just jump over and defeat him. But for the AI, they can just sit on lakes. They don't need any kind of special movement. And since I can't get to lakes yet, it won't be threatened by my units until I get that upgrade. So let's see. This is in the neighborhood of 2 units. So's this, so's this. These are both in the neighborhood of 3 units, but like I said, they could be attacked by me, so they're not valid. And these are in the neighborhood of 2 units. In this case, they want to be closest to the factory, so neighborhood of 2 units right there, protected by their mech. 2 more power, they're up to 12. And another star. That is, gosh, 6 in a row. Oh, well, I think it's certainly time to produce. But don't forget, because I've got more workers now, I'm going to lose 1 power, so I'll be down to 1. Jeez. And I get to produce on 2 hexes. So it'll be here on the mountain, where I'll get 3 metal, 1 for each worker, and over here on the field, where I'll get 1 food. With my upgrades, it's already enough for a recruit, and that's 1 short of a mech. All right, the Automa, let's get a no star for once, no luck. And they want to do a non-combat mech move. They're going to pick up their mech. They want to be as close to us as possible to attack. So that's here or here, because they have to be in the neighborhood of another unit. And in this case, it's reading order, so it's a top first. So there they are, ready to attack us next turn, potentially. And again, geez, another mech and 2 more combat. They're at 14, 2 more, and they'll get a free star just for having full combat track. And they're also close to a free star and upgrading all their cards to the level 2 version. This is not good. Now, I was thinking I'd move and get my character up to another encounter token, but right now I've got 2 guys on that hex, which means if they attack me, I can play 2 combat cards instead of 1. I might be able to defend myself. So maybe I'll come over here to bolster. That'll get me a recruit, and I'll get 3 more combat power, and at least give me a chance of defending myself. So it'll cost me 1 money. My power is all the way up to 4. Whee! I'm not really close. And I do have 1 food to enlist a recruit. I also get 3 money. Man, I want to do this action a lot. So I pick one of my 4 recruits. This one will get me a free combat card, free popularity, free victory point money, free power. And I get it whenever I do the bottom action as well as whenever the AI shows it. So I want to do a bottom action I'm going to do a lot soon. Definitely this one makes a lot of sense because I can get that easily. Yeah, I think I should get that one first and then I can do the mechs later because I'm certainly going to do this 3 more times in pretty quick succession. I just get to cover one of these 4 spaces up and get a 1-time bonus. Certainly going to go for the 2 power because they might attack me this very turn. Brings me up to 6. And the most you can spend on an attack is 7. That's why it's marked. So, I mean, this at least gives me a fighting chance if they charge in. Do they? Let's find out. Nope, just a worker move, but of course, still a star. All right, so the furthest back worker is here. Let's see, I think that's got to be the best space for him. He's in the neighborhood of 3 units. He can't be attacked by me because I can't get the lakes yet, and there's no other worker there, so that's definitely the place for him. They gain another worker and a free money, and there's a recruit bonus, but the wrong one. Still getting a star, though. So they're 1 away from getting a free star, reshuffling their deck, lots of bad stuff. You know, silly me, I forgot. I was so excited to get upgrades from that encounter card that I've now shut myself out of ever getting this shared objective card. So, I will. All right, so again, I'm kind of torn between moving moving and producing this time, but I think I should produce because that'll let me get another recruit and another mech. I'm in a pretty decent spot right now. So let's do that, although sadly it is going to lower my power by 1 again. So it's 3 metal, which means I have enough for a mech, 4, plus 2 more, halfway to my third mech. And 1 food, which silly as it is enough for me to get another recruit later. Come on, Atama, I want you to attack me. Ah, no, okay, so the character is going to go for the factory. That's always their preference when they can get there. So he's jumping over here, and he'll take one of the 3 factory cards. Doesn't actually use it, just removes 1 for me to consider. And then, gosh, 3 more combat and a money. So that means they're at 16, so they get a star for reaching the end of their track, and I do not get a recruit bonus. Oh, but no stars, so they don't upgrade yet. That's good, at least. So first star of the game goes to the Russians. They get the influence token, which will check who has the most at the end of the scenario, and that's going to be some victory points for them. Also, the game end is triggered when anybody has all 6 stars up on the triumph track, so that will speed things up. All right, as for me, now that I have the metal, I think I'm going to trade. So that'll be 1 money, back down to 5. Not making much progress there. I get 2 resources of my choice. I think oil makes the most sense here. And then I will spend 4 metal to deploy another mech. Sadly, no money from that. And I definitely want some more mobility. The lake one's cool, but this one lets me move +1 with each moving mech or character. That'll let me get to more encounter tokens. This one means that I don't lose popularity when I attack workers, but I don't think I'm really to that aggressive part anyway. Hey, let's go nuts and hope the guy charges in, because now I got a lot of combat units ready to go. All right, come on now, attack me, attack me. Notice a worker movement, but still no star. That is awesome. Now, you can't go in the neighborhood of me, which now means he can't go any space within 2 of a tunnel, at least one that I could reach. Because again, I can move 2 spaces, so I can go like 1, 2 and attack. Oh, I can actually get them soon. So where does he want to go? Those spaces aren't available because there's already workers there. Can't be here, he can't be here. He can be here, because I can't move across rivers unless it's into a metal space or a village, so that would be safe for him, and that's in the neighborhood of 1 guy. Could go here, that's in the neighborhood of 1, and that's closer to the reading order. Although, no, I can reach there, because I can move there with my river walk. Could also, oh, actually, yeah, I think this is going to win, or this lake. Yeah, because that's within the neighborhood of 3 people, 1, 2, 3. So that's definitely the winner, because again, I can't reach lakes yet. Okay, he gets a free combat card, which I don't see. It just waits for him to attack. Oh, but I get a free combat card too because of my recruit bonus. Cool. The cards I started with are fairly middling. These go up to 5, from 1 to 5. And the new one is also not good. I still might get attacked, but I think it's finally time to move, especially now that I have oil to upgrade as well. So I can move 3 people. Let's see. I could run my leader up there for the token. But I could also go anywhere through the tunnel. So I could go like 1, 2 there. Yeah, I think I'd rather do that one. Now, the problem with that one is that I'd kind of be trapped a bit because I can only move into spaces with villages or mountains. So then I'd have to like go up here and it would take a while to get back. If I moved to this one, I could then go up to that one, but then I'd have to kind of waste a lot of movement coming back. Could instead, let's see, I could tunnel hop over to this one and then that one's in reach and so is that one. Oh, and actually from this one I can go over there. So that seems like a really good place. I'll go down here and grab this. My second movement, oh man. I do want to get in here with the oil, but I hate to leave only 1 mech to fight the guy, but I think we have to. Let's bring 2 workers with me, because that means every time I produce there, I'll have enough for a new upgrade. And we'll leave 1 worker here, because 1 more metal will get me my 3rd mech. But I'm going to bring the 2 metal with them, so that if I get an unlucky combat, they don't take all my metal away. All right, now I will do an upgrade for 2 oil. Remember, that gets me 1 money. I think I'm about to produce again, so I'm certainly going to take off this to let me produce in 3 places. And let's make my mechs cheaper so that I can get the next one quickly. Okay, and the Automa, they want to attack a worker if I left any of them undefended, but I didn't, so we're okay. So instead they're going to move a worker, then they're going to gain a worker, and now they will finally advance their star marker and get a free star. So their closest worker to their base is actually this guy. But he can't go there anymore because I would be able to attack him. So where does he want to go? Probably to a lake? I mean, that's in the neighborhood of 2 people and can't be reached by me yet. If I get that lake upgrade, they'll have to run way away from my guys. I guess I could also go to that lake, but this is next to 2 people. So yeah, that's where they should be going. They'll get a new worker back at their base. Do advance their first free star hex, so a few things happen. First, they get a star on the triumph track, and in regular side, you can just put it wherever. It doesn't really matter. But for this one, since they're fighting over the influence tokens, you roll some dice to see which one they take. What you do is you take the lower number, so here 3 or 5, they're going to take the 3rd one, the card being number 1. So 1, 2, 3. So 1, 2, 3, it's like they built their 4th mech, and they get this influence token. Now, additionally, because they reach that level 2 space, we're going to shuffle the discard pile back into the draw pile and flip it over to the more powerful, at least in my experience, level 2 side. Oh, crud, you know what? Rewind. I forgot to get the encounter for my character. Let's go and resolve it now. All right, some cows. Share some good news from home with the travelers. Gain 2 money and 1 popularity. That's nice. Trade for a cow and eat steak. Pay $2 to gain 4 food. That'll be enough to get every person forever. Or convince the soldiers that the patterns on the cows contain coded maps from the enemy. Pay 2 popularity, gain 2 combat cards and 3 power. Ooh. That would make me more able to potentially fight them off, but I'll be the nicer guys. All right, so I'm gaining 2 money and then paying 2 money, so that's a net nothing. But I'm gaining 1 popularity and 4 food. All right, so remember the food is all the way down here with my character. And popularity, nice. I'm almost into the next tier. All right, so let's see. I think I do want to get some more combat power. So let's pay 1 to gain 3 combat power. And I certainly will be able to enlist a recruit, get 3 money, and get a combat card because I'm taking my own bottom action. So 1 money to go up to 8 power, so I now am matching the maximum like that. I'll take a food from my leader since he's going to be more vulnerable. Let's see, for the recruit this time, I think I'm going to build another mech sooner. Although more power makes me more happy than more money. Yeah, I guess I'll do the power for now. Let's go and get 2 new combat cards. Want something better than a 2 or a 3? Hey, okay, second highest card, I can take that. And let's not forget the 3 victory points and the extra free combat card, which is, of course, another 2. All right, with their level 2 cards, let's see what's happening. Now, they're trying to attack a worker. Still can't do that. I'm not doing that, guys. So worker tries to move. They have a new one all the way back here. I assume that's still a lake. Is probably going to be one of their only safe spaces that's actually next to somebody. So I guess this one, that would be in the neighborhood of 1 person. I mean, I can go there. Can't go there, but that's not in the neighborhood of anybody. I can certainly go to all these places. Yeah, that's gotta be it. Yep, they gained 3 power. Lucky for me, they're already at the max. So they're just gaining 1 money, and I'm getting a combat card, another one. Plus the star advances. My new combat card, hey, is a 5. Now I'm kind of loaded for bear. I can definitely defeat them. Well, I shouldn't say definitely, but I have a pretty good chance. Notice in hard difficulty, they get to more stars very quickly, and I've not done any stars yet, so I need to play some catch-up. Although I only have 2 more recruits, only 2 more mechs, only a few more upgrade squares, so I should be able to get several stars in fairly short order. You know, I'd really like to get another mech and get the lake movement thing so that I can start getting all these workers, and so that they won't be able to place themselves on lakes anymore, so let's maybe do that. So that means we're going to do the trade action, so that's 1 money. And let's get them both as metal. 1 will be enough to upgrade, and then the second one can get us close to our final mech. Okay, so we'll immediately go in because our upgrade makes them only cost 3 now instead of 4. We're getting our Lake Walk Submerge ability. And let's see. I mean, either way, they can attack me, so it doesn't matter too much. So let's get a little more central with them. All right, the enemy's going to do a worker movement. Well, this should be interesting. All right, so let's see. This guy's the closest to the home base. But where can he go? So I can certainly reach up here easily enough. I can definitely... Actually, wait. Can I get to there? You know, I guess I... Oh, yeah, of course. I can just travel through the tunnel. I can get to there. They can't go there. I can get 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 there. There. Yep, through the tunnel. I can get there through the tunnel. I can get there now. I mean, gosh. Oh, you know what? It can be a neighborhood of the home base. So let's see, this one wouldn't work because I can river walk over into that. But the metal place would potentially work. And so would the food place. So this one's 3 away from the factory. That is more. So I guess they'll be back in home base there. All right, then they get a new combat card. They get another mech, their 3rd. Although they haven't actually moved them out in a while. And darn, I wish I'd taken the money option, but I didn't. They're 1 away from their 4th star. Gosh. Oh, darn, now I kind of wish that I had... gotten this one because then I would not lose popularity because I could just like crush a bunch of their workers this turn. Like I can do a move and charge in here, here, and here and take away a ton of their control of spaces points. Heck, my leader could even come in and start a fight, although if I lost it, I'd lose all this food. But if I can wait a minute until I get my final mech, then I can do all that without losing popularity. Is it worth waiting? I can also do a bolster action, get even more combat power, get another recruit, get some free money, and just hope he attacks me. Yeah, okay, let's do it. Go to 11. I'm getting close to a free star from that. It's been another one of my leader's food. Let's see, I want to get my popularity going up, so let's get the free popularity bonus. Let's cover the 2 popularity hike. Pushes me into better territory, 8. And I get another combat card. I have way too many, a 3. I almost forgot the 3 money from my recruiting. Come on, Atama, bring the pain. Let's see some combat. No, just the character exploring. Let's see, is there one? I guess over there, but he can't start a fight with this. Yeah, the only one that they're adjacent to is all the way back here. And actually, no, it's not actually in the neighborhood of an Atama unit, so that's not valid. Alright, so he can't do any, so instead he'll just do a non-attacking move. Unless he wants to be as close to combat units as possible, as close to the factory as possible, can't be in a space for another combat unit, and then reading orders. So this would be where he wants to be, which unfortunately guards one of the workers, but oh, leaves the factory totally undefended? Yeah, I think I gotta take advantage of that. Okay, he's getting another worker, 2 money, and another star. Let's really get into acceleration time here. Roll and see how many spaces he goes. 3 this time. That'll be 1, 2, 3. Okay, he's doing 4 structures, which I was never going to get anyway, so I guess that's all right. And by the way, the question is when to attack the workers. I might have wanted to do it last turn. If I did it this turn, I would get 1 resource for each worker I chased away, or for each hex that I chased workers away from, so not great, but not terrible. It's not 0. But again, I think I'd rather build my 4th mech this turn and then charge in all out. So let's go to trade. I need 2 more metal to build my last mech, so I'll spend the money to get that. I'll build the last mech, and that'll get me my first star. It's been a while. I'm going to double up here, because they'll attack the place with the fewest units, so if I have 2 mechs on each, I'll be a little bit more well-defended. Oh, and yeah, I get no influence. This is not my best game. Meanwhile, he's finally bringing out one of his other mechs. I don't love that. Let's see, he also wants to be in range of a combat unit and as close to the factory as possible, so that'll mean he's right there, since he can't be on a hex with another combat unit. He's getting a combat card, a money, and bringing his last mech out onto his home base. And then I'm getting a free power. Nice. Of course, advances. This card still shows 1 free resource, so let's get it. All right, so let's see. I could bring in 2 guys here and actually start a fight. The only reason I might want 2 is because that lets me play 2 combat cards, and they randomly draw a card to determine how many combat cards they're playing, so I might want to kind of cover my bases. But now let's see how I can do with 1. Let's send this guy here to chase him away and get me a resource. And by the way, I can move more than 1. I just have to stop what they go into an enemy space. So I might as well move a worker here and then do that. And that'll leave me some extra control for more victory points. For my last one, hey, what the heck? Let's get an encounter card. Couldn't hurt, right? Okay, so combat here. I get to pick how many points I'm going to spend. I have 12. Let's go ahead and spend the max of 7 because they often do. And I can use 1 combat card per unit. Let's go for broke. Draw the top card of their deck and look at the results here. Okay, so good thing I spent as much as I did. They have 14 or more combat power, so they're also going to spend 7. They're going to use 1 combat card from their deck if they have it, and they have a bunch. So here they are playing a 2. All right, I guess I didn't need the 5. So both the combat cards are discarded. We both lose the power we spent, so he's down to 9, now I'm down to 5. Because he lost the combat and spent at least 1 power, he's getting a free combat card back. These guys are going to retreat. The leader goes all the way back to his faction mat, which means he has to be like summoned out again, basically, but his worker just goes right here to come out again. Because I chased a worker away and the last action card showed 1 resource like I already showed, I'm going to put an oil there, and I'll be able to spend that in a second to upgrade. Because I'm also chasing a worker from here, and there's my second oil. And normally I would lose popularity for each of those workers I chased away, but since I have the mech upgrade, that prevents that. Finally, my character is having an adventure while all this violence happens. Alright, we got soldiers on a destroyed mech. Take photos for them, gain 2 metal, 1 popularity. Don't need the metal, but the popularity would be okay. Hire a mercenary, pay 3 to enlist a recruit. I mean, I can get the last recruit anytime I take that action. Or practice your shooting, pay 2 popularity to gain 4 metal. That's worthless. Alright, so I'll get the 2 metal I don't need, although that's still worth victory points. 1 popularity. And then pay 3 to enlist a recruit? I mean, no. Literally, the next time I take the recruit action, I'll get it for free and gain some money out of it, so that'd be silly. So my bonus didn't help me too much there, but that's okay. And then I can immediately spend the 2 oil I just got to upgrade. I mean, gosh, I guess I'd like to be able to quickly get some more popularity. And none of these really matter, but I guess I'll lower the cost of buildings, haha. And besides money, that also gets me a power back. I don't mind that. Now, you know what? I'm cheating horribly. I forgot. You get the resource that's on the space you conquered. So if I attack guys in lakes, I get nothing, because lakes don't make anything. So, no upgrade for me. Whoops. All right, I gotta imagine they're gonna respond with an attack. Oh, and yes, they are. If they have at least 5 power, which they do, they're going to attack me. You know, whoops, before I forget, pretty important, I get a star for winning a combat, and I finally get an influence, yay. Okay, so I'm going to use their unit furthest back, which is one of these mechs back at base, and they're going to go to the place with the fewest combat units, but they can reach any of these 3. But they want the one closest to the factory, so they're going to fight right here and try to stop me from taking that factory from them. All right, so they've got 5, I've got 9. They're probably still pretty likely to use 7, but if I do all 5 and play a 4, I might win, although attacker gets ties. I could instead just spend 1 or 0, although the 1 would get me a free card, and hope that they do something similar. But let's, I guess, go for broke and try to oppose them. So 5 my only 4, 9 total. This is not going to go well for me. 7 and 2 combat cards? Good luck. 7, oh my gosh, 15. Yeah, that beats my 4 pretty easily. Now they're down to 2, so they shouldn't be attacking much anytime soon. And I get a Constellation combat card, a 2 again, great. But here's a really nasty thing. They're going to get a star from winning and another star from advancing their track, and they get a money, and their hero comes back, not good in a lot of ways. My mech retreats back to home base. They'll take the other combat star so they can get the influence. And then rolling for it. 3 or 6, so let's see, 1, 2, 3. No, that was mine. So they only have 1 more star, and they're going to get it in 2 more advancements, although if they win another combat, so not looking good. So I definitely have to get my victory points while I can. I think I should get my last recruit right now, get some more combat power, and then maybe fight again next turn and move and try to take over some more territory. Cost me 1. Back up to 3 combat, certainly better. I'm going to spend a food from my leader. Get my last recruit, and that gets me 2 money, and then I also get 3 money for doing the recruit action, so that's 5 total. And I also get a star for that, but I was just a little bit late. Finally, my recruit bonus, another combat card. 3, I got a ton of 3s and 2s. No 4s or 5s left, though. All right, another star. What, 4 combat? No, I was just about to attack you. Ah, crud. Okay, they get to move a worker, gain 4 combat. I get 1 power, though, and then, yeah, they get another star, so 1 away from ending the game. Alright, so one of these many workers, where are they going to go? So I can teleport from lake to lake, which means none of these places by lakes are free and clear. I can still go from tunnels, and none of those places are free. So yeah, I think they have to go back here again. So they could... No, I can teleport to the lake and then move in there. I can't go there because I can go to the tunnel and move in there. Can they go here? Pretty sure I can't reach that, so yeah, I think that's where they're going. And again, they're going up to 6 combat, I'm up to 4. 1 star away. I gotta do whatever I can. Yeah, so I think it's gotta be a movement turn. I gotta try to take the factory. If I can just get as many places as I can with control, that'll help me out. Alright, so let's see. The guy on the lake can teleport and come in here. That'll chase him away and get me... That counts as 3 territories held, so that's pretty great. Another one of my guys can, I guess, go into the lake and then teleport here and chase him out. I mean, this is swinging territories in my control. It should be good for me. I could try to go into combat, but no, I don't think my chances are good enough. They have more power than me, and I only have 3 combat card values. I guess I can either have an adventure, which might give me some money and some victory points, or I can move my mech somewhere and gain control of 1 more area. That's kind of worth 3 victory points. What's more likely to be good for me? Oh, actually, the adventures might give me some resources, and that's going to be even more victory points. So let's try my luck with 1 more adventure. We'll run ourselves over here and see what happens. Okay, so no combat here. These guys just run home. And as long as I keep them, I've got a ton of extra points there. And then my probably last encounter. Okay, gain 2 food and 1 popularity. Pay 2 popularity to gain 1 worker and 3 wood. Pay 2 money to gain 83 resources. Let's see, a pair of resources right now is worth 2 money, so I guess 2 money for 3 resources is still good, and 2 food and 1 popularity. The popularity won't help much. But 2 popularity... Oh, actually, I can afford 2 popularity, because where I am on the track, it won't really make a difference. So 3 wood is better than 2 food. Although 2 food for free is better than 2 money for 3 resources. So yeah, let's gain 2 food, 1 popularity, then spend 2 popularity, gain a worker, and 3 wood. So overall, it brings my popularity down 1, but again, unless I go below 7, I'm still getting the same multiplier here. Ooh, actually, hold on. Yeah, my guy's already got 3 resources, and he's got 2 types already, metal and food. Look, if I pay 2 to gain 83 resources and then pay 2 popularity to gain a worker and 3 wood, I would have 9 resources of all types in 1 place at the end of my turn, and I would get a star for this objective card. So I think that's worth more victory points. Yeah, stars are worth 4 all by themselves, so let's do that. So my popularity is actually down 2, but it doesn't matter. I do have to pay 2 money, which might end up being a mistake. because when you're playing against the AI, you can only get victory points for 6 resources in a single space, so I'm not sure if this is actually my best play, but let's try it. Right, so I'm getting a bunch of resources and a worker, and that does let me complete my stockpile for the winter card at the end of my turn. It does mean I can't, by the way, use the oil to do an upgrade, which would only get me 1 coin anyway, so I don't really care, but if I did, I wouldn't have the 9 anymore. So there we go, and hey, it's my second influence, not near to the AI, but I got something. All right, he's going to finish it off unless he does not get a star, and he did. And no, he's going to start a combat. Oh, gosh, I hope I win. So let's see. Oh, no. He doesn't have 7 power, so he's not going to start a combat. Oh, he's going to attack a undefended worker. I didn't leave any. My only worker I did protect, so good. So he's just going to move a mech. But he won't take the thing back from me, so that's fine. He's going to be there because he wants to be near the factory and in reading order. He's getting 3 power, doesn't matter. I'm going to gain 1 popularity, doesn't matter. And then he's going to place his 6 star and end it. It doesn't really matter what we roll, but he's going to move 1. Okay, so he'll get that one and his last influence. All right, so now the AI gets their victory points for this stuff. So they get 4 money for each star. They've got all 6, so that's 24. They get 3 for each hex they control. I chase them around quite a bit, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That is great. I definitely knocked them off the board quite a lot, so that's 18 total. Then they would get 2 victory points for each pair of resources, but they don't have resources. In grand total, that is 40, 55, 56. It's actually a pretty low score. They really rushed the end game there, and I kicked their butt off the board, so that's I might actually win this. All right, so let's see how I did. I had 10 left in actual money. I'm also getting 4 per star with 4 stars, so that's 16. 3 for territory. This should be my best one. So let's see, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, plus down here, 9. So that's 27, not bad. And then 2 per 2 resources on the board, but only counting up to 6 from 1 space. And my huge stockpile on the hero won't help too much. So let's see, I've only got 2 over here. Oh, nothing else I should have produced. But then, yeah, I've got 6 more from my leader, so that's 8. So that's 4 pairs times 2, that's only 8. I don't think that's great. And then I get a bonus depending on how many buildings I built on tunnels, but I never built any buildings. So there we go. All right, this is going to be really close. What'd they have? They had 56. And I've got 20, 30, 40, 50, 61. Wow, that was a tight game. You know, one thing I did forget in the setup, this is like the little civilization sort of campaign sheet you have for the Rise of Fenris. I was supposed to be able to pick one of these perks for free at the beginning of the mission. That's something just for Scenario 1. Although then I don't have it for future missions, and there's 8 total in the campaign. So I guess we can just say that I didn't do it on purpose, and now I'll have 1 for each additional mission. Yes, I would note that I had a victory. I figure that'll help me at the end. And I would note which stars I got. That's not going to be great. The AI will certainly have a lot more than me. And then I finally write down my wealth, because out of the 61 I earned, I'll actually be able to spend that on upgrades. But the big thing is, now at the end of the episode, we get to vote on whether we go to war or peace for the next scenario. And I would love to help decide this, but I only have 3 influence total, the 2 that I earned plus 1 automatically. And the AI has 6 plus 1 automatically, 7. So whatever they pick is automatic. And let's see, even is war, odd is peace. So whether I want to or not, we are not going to fight as much next time, which I guess would have helped the AI here because I wouldn't be able to kick them out of all their places. So peace is reigning. So that was it for this introductory play of the Rise of Fenris with the Automa in Scythe. Let me know what you thought, all the tactical errors you noticed me playing, although luckily I did still pull out a win, and we'll see you at the next stop.